Soft sponge, cream and jam. What's not to love?
Today in the kitchen, Catherine Leyden is making a fresh cream sandwich. You make it sound veritably healthy, Catherine.
Well, look how soft it is.
Look at
nice and soft, beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, the secret is a nice light sponge. This is an egg sponge, by the way. You can also make a Victoria sponge and a Genoese sponge. But the egg sponge, the Victoria sponge is made with butter. The egg sponge is just eggs, sugar and flour. And the Genoese sponge is an egg sponge with some oil or melted butter put into it.
There you go.
So here we go. To make a nice light sponge, always start by separating the eggs. And into the egg whites you put... That's 3 egg whites into the mixing bowl with a pinch of salt.
Salt?
Salt.
No sugar?
No, salt. And that's to stiffly beat the egg whites. If you're beating egg whites for meringues, for pavlovas, always add the pinch of salt. It's also, that reduces your beating time and you get a lot more volume from the egg whites.
Right.
Secondly, it's also, now there are various schools of thought in the storage of eggs, but they must be at room temperature before you start.
Oh, she's getting into the weeds here. The fridge or the press? The fridge or the press?
Do you keep your eggs in the fridge or the press, Catherine?
I keep mine in the press.
The press. You're not meant to keep them in the fridge.
No, you're not
in America, you keep them in the fridge because they've washed the sebum off. That's why they've got the egg holders. But in Europe, we don't wash the sebum off. They're meant to be in the press. Right?
Do you keep yours in the fridge?
Between scone and scone and keeping them in the fridge or the press now.
No, I don't think I do. But do fridges not have little egg holders?
That's because they're designed by Americans. Their big refrigerators are American. So in America, yeah.
Now, while we're discussing fridges there, I've added my 75 grams, 3 ounces of caster sugar. Okay. And I'm now going to add my 3 egg yolks.
There's the flavour.
So, you see there, in next to no time, we have the eggs, the sugar, combined together.
Right.
Okay?
Delicious.
And you have it just right when the trail... Anyone who studied home economics will remember when you make the trail of the beater on top of the... If the trail of the beater remains on the top of the mixture, it's just right.
You're good to go.
Right.
Okay.
Lovely.
Now, into that, we're going to add our flour. And I find if you add half the flour at a time, you get it added a lot quicker and easier. So sieve half the flour in, leave it there, and then you always fold the flour into an egg sponge. So with a large metal spoon, just cut through the mixture, folding in the flour.
Yeah.
Now we're doing this so that no air escapes. If you beat that now, you'd end up with all the air removed and you'd end up with a flat sponge mixture after baking.
Yeah.
So hopefully the one in the oven won't be flat.
Where did you learn to bake?
Originally with my granny.
Was it? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's a long, long, long time ago,
And did you do an apprenticeship in a bakery or anything?
No,
did you?
I didn't. I studied home economics, really.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
Now...
Because we're talking about that this morning, and a lot of people, whether they go to apprenticeships or they go to college. So you learned from your granny and then you went to college.
I loved it, yeah. Loved it. Now, there we have the egg white folded through. Don't spend too long with that either, because if you do, you're going to get the air escape.
Yeah.
A few drops of essence.
Lovely.
And Bob's your uncle. Now, if you want a chocolate sponge, you just replace a tablespoonful of the flour with a tablespoonful of cocoa. Not drinking chocolate, because there's sugar in drinking chocolate, and you're going to knock the balance of flour and or sugar and eggs out. Is he eating it?
Oh, it's absolutely delicious.
Do you like it?
So light.
Yeah. And that's the trick, a nice light. Stiffly beat the egg whites first of all, then the sugar, and then the egg. Now, just to mention...
Is that going to be nice in the bowl if I get to eat the bowl with the spoon afterwards?
I'm a big Victoria sponge. I love that as well, but this egg sponge is gorgeous, isn't it?
Just to mention, if you want a larger sponge, it's always equal eggs, flour and sugar. So 3 eggs, 3 ounces of caster sugar, 3 ounces of flour. That's 75 grams. 125 gram, 4 ounces for a bigger tin.
Okay.
Now, just to mention, frequently I'm asked, I have duck eggs. Do I use the same quantities when I'm making a sponge with duck eggs?
Oh, OK.
Now, duck eggs are much larger than the regular eggs.
Oh, yeah.
So I suggest you always weigh the eggs, and then if they weigh 4 ounces, you add, or 125 grams, you add 4 ounces, 125 grams of sugar and flour.
Makes sense.
OK? So weigh the eggs, because they are larger and heavier. Now, there we have the sponge. The last tip at this stage, before you put your sponge in to bake, tap it twice or 3 times
Why is that?
on the board of the table. Don't do that.
No.
Just to get it into the corners?
No, that's to burst the air bubbles that have been beaten in.
Okay.
And if you don't remove them, the texture of your cake will be affected. There'll be large, ugly holes through it.
Okay.
So now...
Right, into the oven.
More tips into the oven. Let's hope the...
Oh, we've got, look at those ones in there.
I know.
Oh, here we are.
Go on. Wow.
I thought I'd lost my oven glove.
There you go.
Merciful hour. Now.
Look at them. Oh, be careful.
Done.
So what are we...
Job is so you put them in to bake at 400 Fahrenheit, 200 centigrade, gas mark 6 for 10 minutes.
Oh, God, they're quick.
And they only went in 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
That's why I say if you've got a mixer, you're going to get these on the table in half an hour. So now...
That's very quick.
Just watch your fingers,
I
Catherine.
know, yeah. You're living life on the edge today.
Tell you what, fingers are...
Now, tip here again.
Right.
Always... Where have I got my spoon, my knife here? Take them immediately out of the tin onto a wire tray.
Okay.
Because if you leave them sitting in the tin, even while we're talking now, you see the way the sponge starts to shrink.
Right, so you can just kind of peel them away a bit, can you?
Just ease it back like so. And then, I'm after picking up like so from Edward Hayden, I think.
I never that's the only thing you picked up from Edward.
That is so true.
I've never said it
That
before.
is so true.
But I hear him saying it.
You do.
Wow.
Peel off the paper. And because that's so light, that will actually be cold in about 10 minutes.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
and then...
So a bit of cream in the middle, a few strawberries and a bit of
fresh
icing
cream,
sugar on top.
Icing sugar on top. You can also use raspberries.
Oh.
And I'm actually going to put raspberries
I'm going to have myself another slice.
We'll have another look at this. This is absolutely delicious.
like it?
And that quick, Catherine.
Jig time.
So quick to make.
It's important to have your oven preheated at the 400, 200 gas mark.
Mess
delicious.